of the 4-belt era. You want to be the first undisputed welterweight champion of the world. You've always told me that. That means you would have to beat Ugas, get that belt. And you know that also means that you would have to get the other belt, and that's the belt that belongs to Terrence Crawford.
Yeah.
Now that he's broken away with Top Rank, do you think that's an easier fight to be made in that it's a fight that we'll see probably at the end of the year?
It should be. I mean, it's something that, you know, that I'm definitely looking forward to, and it's something that, you know, I'm willing to work towards too. And, you know, after I get past Ugas, you know, it could be an easy fight to make. You know, it just depends on, you know, stipulations between me and him. You know, I'll bend, but I'm not gonna break. You know, I'll take off my coat, but I'm not gonna give it to you. So, I mean, I think, you know, it could happen, and I'm looking forward for that fight. I think it's a legacy fight for him and myself, and it's a great fight. I think, you know, it's really what the people want. The people want that fight. You know, that's the fight that they really want, and I think, you know, it can happen.
So this is an interview that Errol Spence here. I'll show you where it is, and I'm going to put the link in the chat of the video and down below in the description box. He did it on Brian Custer's podcast, but it was somewhat of a special edition. Brian Custer, the show host of Showtime Championship Boxing. He has a very good podcast where he interviews all the top boxers and basically people in the sport, but mostly boxers. And what you see is he grills you. He gives you straightforward questions, you know, no frill, no fluff, straight to the business. And you can count on when he's hosting the press conference to try to get, you know, the blood boil in there too. He's a very liked guy and respected in boxing. Remember we came on the scene about, what was it, maybe 5-6 years ago? I don't remember. And I was like, who is this old milk dud head, you know? But then now, like, Brian Custer's the man. Anyway, like, Brian Custer's the man. So anyway, this question he's about to ask Errol Spence here before the Yordenis Ugas fight pay-per-view, $74.99 on Showtime Championship Boxing pay-per-view next week, April the 16th. This question, you're going to see Errol Spence do what is called in media a walk back. Remember years ago, Errol Spence posted something on his social media about if him and Terrence Crawford were to fight, he would have to take 80-20, 70-30, and fans were like, what? No, this motherfucker don't want to fight. Well, now, here's it straight from the horse's mouth and Errol Spence and what he meant by all of this. Take a time out, like the video, subscribe. Also, go follow. I'm going to put the link to his channels, The Last Stand podcast down below as well. But right now, Showtime picked this up. So this is on the Showtime sports page, as you can see right here. So take a time out, like the video, subscribe. I'm T-Street Controversy with Fight View 360, and I can't tell you how good it feels back to be covering boxing, especially with all the great fights we have lined up in April, May, June. July is going to pretty much be lit. You know, this is going to be a very, very good year, especially if we get Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford on pay-per-view later on this year. And you know it has to be Spence Crawford, right? Spence is definitely the A-side. But we'll talk about all that. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe.
I know you once said, hey, look, if we fight, it's going to be either 70-30, 80-20. Was that?
Man, I was when I said
posturing or what was that?
When did I say that?
You know, that was...
Yeah, I said it on my girl Instagram.
Yeah.
What's called, but I was playing. Yeah, man, nobody taking no 80-20, 70-30. Yeah, I was playing. I was like, because I was like, it's gonna be 60-40, and I was like, yeah, he keep playing crazy. It's gonna be 70-30 or 80-20. But yeah, I was playing. Like I was serious about that, man. Like people can't take jokes, man. Like it wasn't nothing towards that.
But despite you having most of the belts in the division, does it bother you at all in your core that you hear people say, and even some boxing?
Here, let's talk right there. I'm trying to find on Twitter the actual clip or the Instagram story of, you know, Errol Spence saying that. But it's funny how all of a sudden now, you know, he is walking it back. In fact, I found it. I found it for you guys. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe. Let's go back down. This music is going to get me. I'm just hoping that this music doesn't get me copywritten. Hold on.
40 guys. 70-30 now. Fuck it. Boy, you gonna make me do 80-20. I'm an 80-20 nigga.
And now all of a sudden is this.
People can't take jokes, man. Like it wasn't nothing towards that.
But despite you having,
It did cause a lot of uproar. Let me say this. Let me give you my thoughts. This fight has to happen at the end of the year. There's no more of the other side of the street. Bob Berum, Terrence Crawford is a free agent. Errol Spence is clearly the A side, with what? This is his third straight pay-per-view. And, Crawford has had how many pay-per-views? I forgot. Hold on. Yeah, this is his fourth pay-per-view. Mikey Garcia, that was the launch him into the pay-per-view stratosphere. That was pretty much a fight where even he's going to say during the Brian Custer podcast, that, it was pretty much, he was supposed to win that fight. And he was upset with guys like Sugar Ray Leonard, who later apologized to him. And who else? George Foreman and a couple other fighters that said he would lose to Mikey. So therefore, that's telling you that was a fight that was set up for him to win, to fight off of being in Texas, fighting a big name Mexican like Mikey Garcia. Kind of similar to when Canelo fought Americana. It was like a surprise kind of, but Americana is British, I'm guessing. But basically, it was a showcase surprise, like showcase fight. The Shorten Porter fight, the Danny Garcia fight, both of those fights did better than Terrence Crawford's pay-per-view against Amir Khan, Terrence Crawford's pay-per-view against Sean Porter, and then Terrence Crawford had a pay-per-view against Victor Postol. Terrence Crawford, he brings out the stars, and he has very great viewership on ESPN, but he's one of those type of fighters where he needs to be matched with somebody good to really sell some big pay-per-views. My personal opinion, Spence versus Crawford can do 500 to 600,000 pay-per-view buys, maybe 700,000 if I'm being honest. Because not only is that the fight that will unite the hardcore fans, to make the hardcore fans be like, yo, we're going to have a party for this shit. But also it does have some casual appeal to it. The 147-pound welterweight division has always had that appeal. And Errol Spence, even though he's not a really super stratosphere star type of star, still he is well known in sports fan circles, and same as Terrence Crawford, being Terrence Crawford fighting on ESPN. So I just feel that the date for this fight is running out. Now, some other topics that they talked about is and by the way, listen, I don't like talking about fighters' money, but I do feel that Errol Spence is the A side, and that if Terrence Crawford wants to fight, he was making $4 million a fight, just fighting on regular ESPN. Meanwhile, Errol Spence, to get that type of money from what we've been learning, at least he's been fighting on pay-per-view. I don't like counting people money, but I'm just saying, sometimes PBC just abuses the pay-per-view platform sometimes, especially when they're giving us fights that we would have got on a regular Showtime or Fox, years ago. It's just now, we got to put it on pay-per-view. And I don't really want to get into it. He did talk about the eye injury also in the interview, where, here, I'll pull up this clip for you. Take your time out. Like the video. Subscribe.
But I didn't want to say nothing. I didn't want to say nothing because I'm like, man, if I say something, they might, get me out of the fight or say I can't fight or something like that. So I'm just going to act like,
everything was good.
Yeah, everything was good. Like I said, I went to go see the eye doctor, and I was just like, he was like, do you see a little shadow to your far left? And I was like, I see a little something, but there ain't nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's not disrupting my vision or whatever. And then he was like, all right, I'm gonna give you this. He gave me something to go see a eye specialist or whatever. But I actually didn't go. We went to Vegas and went to go see I think it was the commission's doctor. I went to go see the commission doctor, and the commission doctor looked at my eye within 2 minutes or a minute. He was like, I got some good news, I got some bad news. He was like, the bad news is there's no way you can fight. He was like, the good news is, it's partially detached, so, they can put it back on, but, there's no way you can be able to fight. And I was like, so I can't have this, even if I don't spar anymore, because I got 1 more week to the fight, and if I don't spar anymore, anything, I said, can I still fight? He said, I was like, you know, I'm trying to like get in the eye, move around, do what I got to do. You know, I just want to fight. And he was like, you're gonna lose. He's like, you might. It's a possibility you might lose your eye. He's like, I can't let you fight. And I was like, in my head, you know, I'm just being, you know, dumb. I'm just like, man, I got another eye.
I got another eye.
Yeah, I got another.
Yeah, he wanted that Manny Pacquiao payday bad. And you know, it is what it is, but he did the right thing because you can see that he wanted to fight. And I'm glad that the doctor caught it, you know, because basically he pretty much, I guess you can say, you know, he ignored the advice from what happened in Texas. And then from doctor's advice, and then went to Vegas and tried to slip by. And the doctor was like, you know, the commission doctor was like, nah, I'm not letting you fight. And then that's when Ugas was able to step in. Another thing is, you know, and you know, he's addressed also in this video about how, you know, fans are doubting him. You know, I get a little bothered by that because it's like, yo, you can't expect everybody to ride with you. And we have legitimate questions, even though he did look good against, you know, Danny Garcia. You know, his first fight back after the accident. He hasn't had a fight. This is his first fight back. Very tough one against Yordenis Ugas, you know, after the eye surgery and the accident. Fans have a right to question, like, yo, you know, he's got a lot of, like, you know, wear and tear of outside the ring shit. And there's no secret that he was dealing with a lot of drinking. So with that being said, it's just like, bro, you can't, you know, be upset with people or fans or take it to heart when they're like, yo, you're going in against a very tough fight. That's why, listen, Errol Spence is the man. And for some reason, I feel like Yordenis Ugas is being underestimated. This dude is good. You know, he's one of those fighters that, yeah, you know, fighters have tough patches, tough fights. For example, he lost to a Mary Mom. I still can't believe that. You know, he struggled against Abel Ramos. But overall, this is a style that we haven't seen Errol Spence fight in this stage of his career. A pure, you know, boxer, like a boxer, you know, with some pop to his punches. For example, stylistically, Yordenis Ugas is better than Danny Garcia. Stylistically, he's better than Sean Porter. Sean Porter's a workhorse, brawler, you know, pressure fighter, power puncher type of fighter. Mikey Garcia just didn't have the size, my personal opinion. You know, and then you start going to guys like, okay, Lamont Peterson, you know, Kell Brook. You know, Kell Brook, in my opinion, and I've covered all these fights, even when he was fighting on Golden Boy on FS1, shit like that. Who would you say down below in the comments was his toughest fight? What is his toughest fights? I'm going to say Sean Porter. From a fan standpoint, Sean Porter, Kell Brook, Sean Porter, Kell Brook. Jesus, I don't remember these fights, even though, like I said, I did cover them. Lamont Peterson really ain't do nothing. Like, it was like, you know, he was, you know, fighting real scary. Danny Garcia was there, you know, but still overall, Errol Spence won. Now, he did address Errol, Jerron Boots Ennis, and I can understand where he's coming from to where here, I'll play the clip for you, and it's the last one we'll play of the interview about how, like, you know, these young guys are calling him out, and that's how it goes when you don't have a belt. You want the big name guys, you want the smoke. You know, when guys like, when Errol Spence was calling guys like Keith Thurman out, and, you know, Sean Porter out, and who else? I don't remember Sean Porter, but he was calling out guys that were further along in their careers, you know, that wouldn't fight him because he was a young, up-and-coming talent guy.
Something that we're working on right now, but he should be fighting around May or June.
Okay. Fish from Twitter asks, when will you fight Jerron Ennis?
I don't know. You know, I'm not one of those older guys that, you know, they get mad or stuff like that when I'm a younger guy, you know, call him out. That's what he's supposed to do. Because if a Jerron Ennis or, you know, Virgil Ortiz, I see he just recently called me out.
Yeah.
Like, if a lot of these young dudes didn't call me out, I think something wrong with them. Because, you know, when I was young and I was coming up, like, I was calling out everybody. Keith Thurman, Daddy, Shop, man, who want smoke? Man, I was calling out everybody, like, man, who want smoke? Man, I don't care what y'all talking about. We got to fight.
Yeah.
So, you know, I respect that because, you know, if they wasn't calling me out, it'd be like, oh, it's coming. Or, I'm not really worried about that fight. I think something wrong with him. He not hungry. He don't want it. You know, I respect the young guy who's like, yeah, like he the top dog. Like, I want him. I'm gonna eat him. So they watching every move. They watching every fight. Like, yeah, he's slowing down a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna catch him. So, I respect that. So I don't know when I'll fight Yuriorkis. We'll see.
Okay.
And then he pretty much asked the same thing about Virgil Ortiz. Well, he pretty much asked the same thing and said the same thing. A fan asked a question about Virgil Ortiz, and the answer was pretty much the same from Errol Spence. But to go and look at the pay-per-view undercard, which is going to be taking place next weekend, let me tell you how it's going to work out. On regular Showtime leading into the pay-per-view, you're going to have what? It's supposed to be Brandun Lee versus Zachary Ochoa versus Radzhab Butaev versus Eimantis. This is going to be the WBA mandatory, but I highly doubt that the winner of that is going to get Errol Spence. Then to lead into the pay-per-view, it's supposed to open up with Jose Valenzuela versus Francisco Vargas. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's the opener. Cody Crowley versus Josesito Lopez. Cryz versus Yuriorkis Gamboa. And then, of course, the main event, Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas for $74.99 on Showtime pay-per-view. We're going to be here for the fight week events. We're going to be here for the press conference, the weigh-in, post-fight press conference, the whole shebang. Overall, I would rate the card, including the Showtime portion, I'm going to rate it an 8, maybe 9. Let me see. I'm going to rate it a 9 because there's at least 3 fights on there I'm interested in, and we do got Cruz Gamboa, even though I hate the fight. I'm going to rate it a 9, and I'm going to rate it on a scale A to F. I'm going to rate it an A. You can use plus or minus. Let me know how you feel about the card down below. I was raising the question of where's the real buzz, but I feel it's going to be here next week. This is a significant fight. It's a 3-belt unification, and also it's guaranteed to be a competitive fight. Now, I will say this: I'm going to gauge how Errol Spence deals with Yordenis Ugas on how he deals with how he would deal with Terrence Crawford. I'm going to go ahead and say it. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have said, it's slight edge to Errol Spence. But right now, with everything that's been going on in Errol Spence's personal life, and Terrence Crawford is just good, and he's got something that I just don't really see in Errol Spence, man. And understand, there's going to be some times where you're going to watch this channel, you're going to be like, all right, this guy knows what he's talking about, he cool, whatever. There's going to be other times you're going to be like, this guy's a dickhead, what the fuck is he talking about? We're not always supposed to agree. If we do, then something's clearly wrong, But with that being said, the next episode of All Access, they're actually going to be playing both episodes on here. I got the schedule right here. This is the schedule for Showtime. So 9 p.m. Eastern this Saturday, they're going to play episode 1 and then episode 2 at 9:30, which is the new episode. You can watch episode 1 on the Showtime Boxing page and get the free trial and whatnot. But yeah, take your time out, like the video, subscribe. Shout out to Brian Custard, one of the best podcasts in the business. He really gets down to business with the boxers. Also, we got a lot to talk about. And I really didn't even get to break down the 147-pound division like I wanted to. For example, he did ask a question about, would he fight Keith Thurman? And Errol Spence just pretty much laughed it off. Danny Garcia, is lobbying somewhat for a fight with Terrence Crawford via a Fight Hub or Fight Hype interview. Boots Ennis is fighting Custodio Clayton in an IBF eliminator. And it's going to be really interesting to see what Virgil Ortiz is going to do because he's having some weight issues, staying at 147 pounds. And I don't want to hear if he stays at 147 and loses to somebody and they're like, oh, well, it was the weight issues. Not trying to hear that shit. They got to figure out what they're going to do. And Errol Spence pretty much, I'm really starting to believe that we're inching closer towards Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford at the end of the year. Not only is Spence giving hints and walking back certain things that he said about, the 80-20 and all of that, but also we're seeing that Derek James is, bringing it up. You're seeing people, individuals involved with the promotion of broadcast bringing it up and talking about it. So something's definitely going on. And the rumors are Terrence Crawford 2 to 3 fight deal. I don't know, but whatever's going on, I'm hoping we hear something soon, but probably won't be until after the Spence Ugas fight. And what would be crazy is what if Terrence Crawford is there? That's going to be crazy. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe. I'm T Street Controversy with Fight View 360.